So as with any Salesforce presentation / webinar, my favorite slide, the safe harbor statement, as I just mentioned, we're going to be talking about a lot of forward-looking features, things that aren't yet, don't have a release date, aren't planned for the immediate future. And so we ask, even though you guys are already customers, don't base any future purchase decisions on forward-looking statements, but on currently available technology. That was great. Connect with us. So you're connecting with us right now because we're on a webinar speaking to you, but if you want to give us a shout, any questions following the webinar or just any comments, please tweet us at @desk, #CustServeWins. There's going to be a Q&A following this webinar, so just to let you guys know, we'll talk through some slides, and Scott's going to give a demo, and that'll be about 30 minutes max. And then, depending on how many questions you guys have, we're happy to stick around anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes after that to answer your questions. And finally, everybody that's registered for this webinar, so tell your friends that aren't on today, you guys are going to receive an email with a link to the recording of this webinar because we are recording. And with that, I want to introduce myself as well as Scott. And for those of you that don't know, it is Beard Wednesday here at Desk.com. And I'm really, really happy to be joined by Scott. Scott is our senior product manager, but in terms of Next Gen Agent, he is really the guy behind the curtain. He is responsible for driving this vision, for all the improvements that you've seen thus far, and everything that you're going to hear about today. It's really Scott's vision and his team in action. I am Elvis Greer, Product Marketing Manager here at Desk.com, and again, nice to be talking to you guys. So I want to start off, before we get into the details, before we get into the demo, to talk really about the vision of Next Gen Agents. And as those of you that are very familiar with Desk know, Next Gen Agent isn't a significant departure from our classic agent in terms of functionality. It looks pretty. We hope you think it looks pretty. We think it looks pretty. But you'll notice a lot of the things are the same, and we've done that on purpose because we don't want to just completely alter the way you do business. We want to transition smoothly, and of course we're going to talk a lot about the similarities and the differences, but why we're building this and what we're going to talk about today is just more than a pretty UI. It's all about what's under the hood. It's about how we've really and literally built this this experience from the ground up to incorporate some of these changes in the integration possibilities that we're going to have going into the future. And so why do we do that? So our vision here is, number one, to allow you guys to quickly organize your support process. And again, as customers, you've probably done this very early on, and you realize, and again, we hope you realize, we really aim so that all of our customers can get up and running on Desk very, very quickly, and that you can train new agents to use this tool with really no problem in a very short learning curve. Second is optimizing for customers. What does that mean? It means all the way from the little things to the very, very major things like a complete UI overhaul, but all these things that we're doing are really to allow you to take your customer service to the next level. This isn't about a tool just helping you do your job. This is a tool. We really want people that are Desk customers to have a competitive advantage over everybody else. And so everything that we build, everything that we do strives to accomplish that goal, and that's really optimizing for customers. And what we're going to focus on today is this final piece of the puzzle, and that's the measure, adapt, and grow part. And so what does that mean? That means as your businesses scale and hopefully as your businesses become increasingly successful and the sophistication of your day-to-day actually increases, we want to provide you with the tools to enable you not only to provide great customer service, but to know your customers better than ever. And so what does that mean? That means, number one, analytics. Business Insights allows our customers to get a really, really deep look inside to what customers are saying about their brand, about their company, about the level of service. What we're going to talk about today are certain integrations. Like any amazing product, again, we like to think we're a pretty great product, and what we do because of that is we try to build, and we recognize, first off, that we're not going to be great at everything, and we don't want to be great at everything. So what does that mean? We want to integrate as nicely and as cleanly as possible with all these additional apps in companies that you already use. So what does that mean? So it means we build an architecture on the back end that allows for seamless integration, and it allows for our system to play nicely with all those other things that you've come to love and enjoy so that you don't have to throw everything else to the side. And so that's really our vision, is to make your job easier, to give you a competitive advantage over anybody else that's not using Desk, and it's going to allow you to actually grow and allow Desk to meet the levels of sophistication that you guys see in your business as your business becomes increasingly complex and increasingly successful. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott, and he's going to talk about Next-Gen Agent.
Yeah, hi everyone. So as Elvis already said, I'm Senior Product Manager here at Desk for the Next-Gen Agent console. And I just want to preface what we're about to go over. Obviously, a lot of you have been with Desk for a long time, and you've used the classic agent, and some of you have transitioned to the new agent. Some of you have tried it and haven't yet transitioned. But there are quite a few customers who have actually started and only ever used the Next-Gen Agent. So the way I'm going to present this is I'm going to talk about some features that have been in Desk for a very long time. And for those of you who've used it, you'll know that. For those of you that this is new to, that'll be great for you to learn about. If you've been with Desk for 6 months to a year, you've probably heard a little bit about what we're going to talk about today already in some of our previous press tours and webinars and such. But we are going to get to material that you probably haven't heard about that's pretty exciting about what's coming in the first part of 2015. And some features that just recently launched that you may or may not have heard about. So hopefully there's going to be something in this webinar for everybody. So just bear with us if some of this stuff at the very beginning sounds a little bit like you've already heard it. But with that, I just want to transition to something that Elvis already kind of led into, which is that our goal is to make the support process as fast as possible. We want your agents to be able to resolve as many cases as quickly as possible, but not just get them done and get them out, but also resulting in extreme customer happiness. So we want really high case resolution in a really fast pace, so fewer human beings can get more work done, and you can have a happier customer set overall. So when we looked at the classic agent, we noticed that there were some obvious areas to improve, and a lot of our older customers let us know as much. It loaded a little bit slowly, not terribly slowly, but it took a little while for cases to load, and there was a lot of information on the screen, and it took some time to get used to processing all that information when you're looking at it all day long, 5 days a week. So we went ahead and tackled designing a new agent interface that addressed a lot of what we learned from the original one. And in doing so, we knew that we got a lot of stuff right the first time, and we didn't want to throw that out, right? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So so we kept a lot of the stuff that has been in Desk all along. So intelligent case filters, macros are a big one, and then at some point last year we added inline macros, which I'm going to demo if you haven't seen it before. It totally speeds things up. The conversation history, where you can interlace private notes to other agents and other people in the company, the ability to forward cases in email either out to other customers or to other people within your company, case and conversation attachments, the ability to separate attachments either for the conversation with the customer or just to have the attachment on the case. This is just a short list of many, many features that were already in Desk that we preserved in the Next-Gen Agent because they're so powerful and so helpful. But pardon me, and I have to apologize. I'm going to be coughing a fair bit. I've got this 3-week chest thing that I think most people in the Bay Area have had now. So I bet a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So if you can just bear with me. So there were a lot of little things. There were some big things we tackled, but there were a lot of little things that we knew would make a big difference. And this is, again, just a short list of what some of those things are. And I'll talk about these in more detail when we're going through the demo. But to be able to show more information in the case detail view, to be able to see the customer and the case properties at the exact same time without having to flip between tabs was a big improvement. We knew and got feedback from a lot of our customers that it was awesome that we had keyboard shortcuts, but some of them required finger gymnastics and led to premature arthritis in a lot of cases. I say that tongue-in-cheek, not for real. And then complete case history in the preview. So that's what the screenshot is here on the slide. In the classic agent, you only saw the last interaction or two, maybe 3. And now you can actually scroll and see every single interaction in the history, and I'll demo that as well. A much better knowledge base interface. and it's an easier new case creation flow. So those are all lots of little things that that we tackled. But the next-gen agent is also allowing us to tackle some bigger things. And one of those, and it's kind of the biggest, and we've been announcing this quite a bit over the fall of leading up into the holidays, which is our new telephony solution. So we used a technology called OpenCTI, which means that many telephony companies can leverage this. I think on the Salesforce Service Cloud platform, something like over 120 service providers have taken advantage of this. And we use the exact same technology set, and I think we're already at 10 or 12 providers, and more are coming on board every day. And this is native computer telephony right inside the next-gen agent. And so the service provider, be that RingCentral, OneReach, TalkDesk, et cetera, builds a console that pops open and allows you to receive phone calls and allows you to place phone calls. And when the phone call gets created or initiates, we actually create a case, a phone case automatically. And if we can resolve who the customer is based on the phone number, we automatically attach the customer. We're not going to talk a lot about this in detail. This is a fantastic new feature to Desk in general, and it's available in the next-gen agent, which is really fantastic. We've always been able to, in the classic agent, there's been a lot of power to write a lot of custom JavaScript and CSS and customize the case view and the customer view in the Desk interface. We're not going to do it the same way in next-gen agent because it's not scalable. As we version and change code over time, it's just too likely, it's almost guaranteed that we will break some of your customizations. So again, we're borrowing from the Salesforce toolbox, and we're implementing a new technology called Canvas. And what Canvas is going to allow you to do as a customer is write a JavaScript on a web URL that you host on your servers that you can include in your Desk.com case interface page via an iframe, whether that's a hidden iframe or whether it's a visible iframe like this screenshot shows. And then you can actually code to a JavaScript library we provide you, and you have full access to our REST API right here on the page. And that's super powerful, and it's going to enable integrations that are much easier to do and much more powerful than even were possible in classic agents. So it's going to be a different customization process, but it's going to be just as powerful in most cases and more powerful in many cases. And we will be releasing more information on all of this as this becomes mainstream and available to everybody. For sure, if you have questions, definitely let us know. And this is probably a good opportunity for me to really quickly mention the REST API. So when we retackled building the next-gen agent, as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't just about making it easier for agents to use the interface, but it was also about everything loading faster and being more powerful. And when we rebuilt the agent code base from the ground up in a technology called AngularJS, for any of those of you who care, we also built this REST API. And the REST API, unlike what a lot of companies do, is completely open and is completely usable by all of you directly. And there are no private APIs. There are no private methods that we use ourselves. Every single thing that the next-gen agent uses is available and documented at dev.desk.com. So another thing we've been hearing from our customers is the need for a much better Jira integration. We have a very basic Jira integration in Classic Agent, but coming in the first quarter, possibly the second quarter of this year, but we're really aiming for the first quarter, is a complete Jira overhaul. And this will be in the next-gen agent, and it's going to be top to bottom, the best Jira integration on the market. I've already seen a lot of the early spec work being done by another one of the senior product managers here, and I've seen all the designs and been privy to some of the dev conversations, and it's amazing. So it's still a little ways off, but any of you who are using Jira in your environment are going to be quite excited. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the demo. Forgive me here. We're going to try and figure out, is this working? Are you getting it? Okay, great. Can you sing on your screen? Yeah, sure, I can do it. Okay, so this looks good, Elvis? Yeah. Great. So this is probably a screen you're all very familiar with. A lot of you have at least seen it a couple of times if you're not already using it every day. So we're just going to go on a little tour here of features that, that help productivity, and I'm going to try and interlace some tips and tricks that either we prescribe directly from Desk or that I've heard some of our customers share with us on what they do. And please feel free to shoot questions into the chat room, and we'll try and address as many of them as we can in the Q&A session at the end. Right off the bat, we stuck with all of the important stuff. We kept the case filter over here on the left. We didn't want to break the paradigm that you're used to, so we didn't want you to have to relearn the tool, so we wanted you to be able to look at this and go, oh yeah, I see how this is the same as the classic agent. But there were some things that needed to be improved upon. Right off the bat, we have the columns here, and as you could in the classic agent, you can choose which columns can be displayed and which ones can be hidden. What you couldn't do in the old agent is grab one of the column headers and drag it somewhere else and reorganize your column layout to optimize it for the information that you want to see and need to see to optimize your workflow. And that's obviously pliable and sticky, so you can use that for all the various different screens you use. Excuse me. We reduced search down to a single interface that still gives you access to the advanced search tool. And we're going to be doing some more work in the first part of 2015 on improving the entire search feature. But for starters, this works exactly the same as it did in V2, or sorry, it's the classic agent, but we have consolidated it into one place for simplicity. The routing feature, not a lot of our customers, I should say, a lot of our customers use the routing feature, but not a majority of our customers use the routing feature. And it really is specific to the business case. But this is a pretty fantastic feature that if you turn routing on a particular filter, it actually sends cases directly to the agent. So if you want your agents to accept messages, to accept inbound cases, it will automatically feed them in. This is a demo organization. A lot of the cases in here are sample content, so they may not all make sense. But that routing feature can either be turned on by filter, or it can be turned on globally so that the routing algorithm applies equally across all filters and feeds the most important cases to your agents first. If you're not taking advantage of that, you should probably consider whether or not it makes sense for your business case. So the new case flow, we just wanted to simplify everything, so I can search for, see if Elvis is in here. There he is. I'm going to create a new phone case for Elvis. So I'm just going to create a case. And we tried to make it quite a bit simpler and faster so you can get right into things, right into the case more quickly. So that's just a minor improvement over the classic agent. If I go into the case detail view, I'm going to open this. This organization is for a company called Aloha Adventures, and they do fictitious or fictional extreme adventures in Hawaii, things like skydiving into live volcanoes, that kind of thing. So right off the bat, when I hover over this new case, you can see that we have this new preview, and it has the ability to view it in read-only mode, to open it, or even just go straight up and resolve it. So that's an improvement over classic. This particular message here has 14 messages in the thread, or 14 threaded messages. That's what that 14 means. And as you can see, I can scroll the entire history right here in the preview mode. I don't have to open it to see all of them, which was the case in the old one. I do want to point out really fast before we go into a case that our bulk editor, we made a slight improvement. And instead of bringing it up from the bottom, reducing the amount of information of cases you can see at a time, we're bringing it in from the right side. That's something a lot of you might have already seen already. But this was a change that was a pretty good improvement over the original classic agent. So now I'm going to jump on into the case view. And right off the bat, you can see that we have customer information on the left, case information on the right. And if you're an organization that uses company can come up from the bottom. in an accordion-like way. And the really cool thing about the customer information is, let's say you're in here only to edit the customer information. You do that in line. So I'm going to add Elvis's phone number here, his home phone, and we're going to do the whole Hollywood thing, right, which is like 415-555-1212, and that's his home phone. And that got added in real time. I don't have to go update the case now to update Elvis's customer record. So that's a nice improvement over the classic agent, and it helps you go faster, because you might have a workflow where some agents go in and update customer information without actually resolving cases, and others go in and answer the cases. All the case information is over here on the right. As you can see, we have the ability to add in custom fields. And for some of you who customize your views, a page layout editor is coming very soon. So you'll be able to customize which custom fields display and which don't, and build some build some logic around those. Here in the center of the page is kind of the meat of the agent, where you're going to answer the customer, you're going to read the case history, you're going to do your actions. Those of you who've used Classic Agent before may notice right away that a lot of the visual clutter is gone, yet a lot of the functionality is still there. There are some utility tools that are still coming in the first part of this year, like merging cases together, changing the customer on a case. Those are coming very soon. I know a lot of you have asked about those, but all the case actions that are available are going to be available here. This is forward case by email. This is using your integration links. We also have these contextual arrows. And then the reply area down here is relatively new. We just modified it to improve it. And we borrowed largely from Gmail because it's a familiar paradigm. Similarly, our keyboard shortcuts, we support all the old ones if you know them, but we actually implemented a bunch of new ones that we've also borrowed from Gmail because so many of you know them, and we also strive to minimize the number of funny shapes you had to make with your fingers to reduce strain. So right off the bat, this is an email case. So we have multiple outbound mailboxes. You can choose from that list here. We automatically save the draft as you're typing every, I think it's 10 seconds, and it reflects the saved state, and you can reset to the original state. You can add attachments here like you could before. I've seen some requests recently to be able to download attachments all in one fell swoop, and we'll be adding that in the near future. This is the link to the knowledge base. This icon's changing soon, and I'm going to demo that separately in a second. But right off the bat, you can add CC and BCC and their keyboard shortcuts for all of this. So a lot of you know about macros, and this demo is not going to be new to you, but I just want to point out the power of macros to those of you who haven't fully leveraged them yet. And this brings up another topic about how Desk, the agent console interface, is designed and built to make you as productive and fast as possible, but a lot of that comes from some upfront setup in the admin, which only the administrators can do. And it's one of those things where the smarter you are on the side of the admin in setting things up, the more productivity you'll realize from your agents in the agent console. So macros are a super powerful feature, and they go hand in hand with the articles in the knowledge base. So right off the bat, let's go into the knowledge base and take a look at the new interface. So it looks a lot like, in terms of general layout, the original one, but we've added some stuff. So for any of you who use multilingual support and do business in multiple languages, we've brought language support straight into the knowledge base, so you can see all of your articles limited by the language. And when you're looking at an article here in the list, it's telling you which language you're seeing it in. We also now support brands. So if any of you are using multiple brands, and what that means for those of you who don't know is you can create multiple brands, and each brand has its own public-facing support center. So if you have a parent company with multiple product lines, you can have multiple support centers, one for each product line, for example. There are other ways to use it. We also made some improvements here, so you can either copy a link to the clipboard for the article or then insert the link directly into the case response. Likewise, you can copy the text of the article to the clipboard or insert it directly into the case response. Furthermore, if you open the case, as some of you may know, sorry, only administrators will know this. When you edit an article in the administration module, there's a way to create different versions of the article for the different channels. So you can create, for example, a 140-character version of this article, so that when the article is used in a Twitter case, it automatically appends the 140-character version. So right off the bat, you can build productivity into your workflow by custom tailoring the articles you use for your responses and tweaking them to the specific channels. Nicely, things like email, Q&A, and Facebook all have relatively long responses, so you can probably just use the main response up here. But the KV browser in the agent desktop now gives you access to which version of the article you want to see. So you can, if you are in Twitter case and you want to apply the Twitter version, you can go ahead and choose the Twitter version, which is less than 140 characters. Or I can go back to the full article version, and I have complete control. This is something unique to Desk. This complete tight integration with the knowledge base and all of the content we have in it, all available to the agents right in the console where they're answering customers, is actually a feature that's unique to this degree. So what we see here are these articles, and as you just saw a second ago in the admin section, we have quite a few articles in topics in our knowledge base. And a smart way to use articles is to, if you have articles that can both be used for agents to respond to cases, but also be publicly shown on a support center, that's fantastic, right? Because then your customers can find the information on the support center themselves, or your agents can use the information to send responses to the customers. In addition, we've been told by quite a few customers that the knowledge base is fantastic for training purposes because it helps new agents as they're onboarding learn the business and the kinds of content that they need to know and the kinds of questions customers are asking. It gives them a crash course in getting up to speed and becoming an expert at your business so they can answer the customer much more effectively. So a really powerful combination, however, is to link macros together with articles. And the way you do that, for those of you who haven't seen this, is in the macro definition. So here I am editing this macro called, I'm going to cancel it so we can see it again, called rave plus thank you. So this is a macro we're going to use to quickly respond to people who send in praise. And so what I'm going to do is this is going to append two labels, happy and rave. So in the future, when I want to find customer quotes for use in marketing material, I just need to search for those two labels, or either like rave. I'll search for rave, and I'll find all of the cases that where a customer sent in praise. I'm going to set the status to resolved because ideally we'll send the customer a thank you and then not hear back from them. I'm going to, and this is the money here. I'm going to append the article rave thank you. And if we go look at this article really fast, it just basically says, thank you so much for the positive feedback. We're very excited that you had a great experience. Feel free to share the experience on our Facebook page, etc. So when I use this macro, it's going to append that article to the case, to the reply. And if you link that together with what I just showed you a second ago, it's going to automatically append the version of the article specific to the channel of the case you're working on at the moment, which is really, really powerful. I'm going to set the outbound email subject to thank you to. I'm going to add a note. This is the private note in the interaction history, which is we thank the customer for the rave of our product, and everyone can use this macro. So now we're going to go use the macro in the agent desktop. So I'm going to close the KV browser. I'm going to go in here, and a lot of you probably know the macro menu, and here is the feedback folder, and there we go, rave plus thank you. But instead, I'm going to show you guys inline macros. I bet most of you know this, but for the few who don't, you'll love this. So I'm going to type pound, hash, and I'm going to start typing rave. I just typed the letter R, and it just showed me the first ones that match that. And I'm just going to hit the Enter key, and it's automatically going to apply that macro right into the response. You'll notice, I didn't point this out a second ago, but this article has a graphic attached to it. I don't need to load it up, but it's basically just a big thumbs up. And then it changed the reply subject to thank you to. it added the attachment, it put the text right into the body, and it added the 2 labels, it changed the status to resolved, and we are good to go. I can update this case, and we're done. So that took a while because I was talking through it, but hopefully you can appreciate how fast it was to send a customer an insanely generous note back to them and set all the properties of the case all ready to go for the future for finding those cases again. And we can use that on any channel and get channel-specific responses, and we're good to go. Yeah, go to questions. Yeah, we can stop there. It sounds like Elvis is saying that now might be a good time to go to questions. I can keep going on and on. Maybe we'll have another webinar, I don't know. But that might be a good place to stop and transition.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Scott. And yeah, and so to Scott's point, there's obviously, we're really happy to see, the excitement around Next Gen Agent. You guys have actually asked a ton of great questions, and I'll try to include as many of these questions as possible and try to maybe generalize so that I answer multiple people's questions at once. A couple things, because I know just by looking at this list, we're not going to get to all these questions. I will be following up in the near future, most likely with a blog post, and I promise I will do my best to incorporate many of these questions in that blog because, again, there's a lot of follow-up questions here. And then also, if you guys have any, because again, a lot of these questions are about, features within, case view and how to manage cases. If you guys have any suggestions or anything you'd like to see that's not currently available, or there's anything that's maybe unclear that exists in Classic that you can't find in Next Gen Agent, please email us at support@Desk.com, and then in the subject line, put Next Gen Feedback, and that email will go to Scott. So again, we're going to do our best to incorporate this, but Scott, I'll go ahead and read off some of these questions and then, answer as best you can.
Yeah, sure. So we'll just do one at a time.
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions, and again, I hope I can get most of you in one question, but there's a lot of questions around case management and a lot of questions around merging, deleting, sorting cases. So, and I guess to kind of organize this, so can you first talk about all the ways and maybe differentiate from those folks on the line that are using Classic Agent? What are some of the cool ways that either exist now or are going to exist in the near future, how you can further sort cases, merge, and delete cases? So can you talk about the case experience and how we hope to improve that case experience?
Yeah, definitely. So the dev team that works on this, the Next Agent Console in particular, is entering what we'll call an epic the next couple of months. We're focusing on 2 main things, really. The first is finishing off all the channels, so the chat channel will be added to the Next Gen Agent, and then finally, it's all of the things around merging cases together, merging customers together, changing the customer on a case. It's those little utility tools that we know customers find so helpful that we haven't quite finished up in Next Gen Agent yet. So those are going to be coming in the next, literally January, February timeframe.
Awesome. So hopefully, again, there's a lot of good questions about that, and hang in there, you guys. Next couple of months, hopefully there's going to be a lot more functionality, a lot more freedom around this. And there's actually another question regarding cases, and it came from a person that had many different constituents. Like, for example, this specific example was school districts. So they have multiple schools coming in, giving them cases, and they want to know, can they sort cases by group? So if you have certain, let's say for typical business, you have multiple companies that are emailing you. Can you sort cases by, depending on this? Maybe rules or something like that?
Well, there's definitely, rules is a good one. So the best way to do it is to organize, let's use that example. So if you have multiple schools emailing you in, a good way to do it is to have a filter for each school. So the filters, if you haven't explored this yet, are like smart folders, where the filter has a specific definition, and it will show you the cases that match certain properties. And so you can go about this a number of different ways. If you have multiple inbound email addresses or Facebook accounts or Twitter accounts or even phone numbers, you can automatically have it so that when a case comes in on a particular email address, it can be assigned, you can create a custom property like the name of the school, and then when the case comes in, a rule would be used so that when the case comes in on that email address, depending upon which email address it is, you automatically assign the school name to the custom field. And then in the filter, you create the filter definition so that if the custom field equals a certain value, show all those cases. So you can create a filter for each school based on a custom field value, and then you can have rules automatically assigned based on the inbound email address. You can also, it doesn't have to be based on the inbound email address. It can be if the school is sending it in from the same sending address, you could use that as well. Any kind of property where you can identify the different schools to use a rule to set the custom field, that custom field can then be used to create different filters.
Cool, cool.
It is a best practice. There are other ways to do it too, but I'm going to stop there.
Okay. And I guess, so let's just continue on this a little bit longer because there's so many questions about it. So a couple other questions came up about like merging and deleting duplicate contacts.
Yeah.
Can we do that? And then also...
That's part of that January, February effort.
Awesome. And then sorting columns in a case list.
Sorting columns in a case list? Yeah, so I didn't demo it, but most of those columns where you can drag and drop and move and change them around are all sortable. Not all of them are, but most of them are.
And then can we talk a little bit, so one question around how do we make Next-Gen Agent default?
How do you make it default?
So exactly, one of the questions asked was every time they load up Desk, it's defaulting to Classic Agent and they're having to go to the
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So it's supposed to be sticky. So if it's not sticky for you guys, I'm going to go talk to the dev team. That might just be a small bug we need to fix.
Cool.
But it's supposed to be taking you back to whatever you were in last. And if that's not happening, then we will get that fixed promptly.
Awesome. And so another set of questions was around some of our forward-looking technology, like the Jira integration, the improvements, as well as Canvas. So can you talk a little bit more deeply about Canvas, maybe like some of the technology that it enables it to be what it is, and kind of some of the freedoms and maybe what you can and can't do, very generally speaking?
Yeah, sure.
As well, and also, can you talk about how Jira will be better, specifically? So let's just start with Canvas.
Okay, great. So with Canvas, well, first of all, I see one other thing on the board I just want to touch on really fast. A lot of people have asked if they can customize text color, and the reason for that is because we've gotten a lot of comments about there not being enough contrast. I just want to point out that yesterday an entire color and icon overhaul got released to production. And so hopefully most of you have noticed it, and hopefully it's a big enough change that you're happy. But we increased the contrast, we darkened text, we lightened some of the bolder colors. We have a relatively new design director who joined last summer, and he's been overhauling everything and doing an amazing job at it. And so hopefully that fixes most of the contrast problems a lot of you have written in about. If it doesn't for some reason, you know, send us information at support@desk.com with subject next-gen feedback if you want to hear about it. But that was a really, really big change that just happened yesterday. Okay, so back to Canvas. So it took me a while to get my head wrapped around what Canvas was. So I'm going to try and explain this in the simplest terms as quickly as possible. Canvas is two parts. We have written and are continuing to write and are continuing to develop and grow a JavaScript library that lives in Next-Gen Agent. And that JavaScript library sits there waiting for you to leverage it. We don't do anything with it. It basically exposes methods that you can call from JavaScript and to do things and change things on the page and take advantage of the Desk object model. That's JavaScript we write, and I think we call it parent.js. But then that doesn't do anything. It just sits there. But then you can write JavaScript in a web page you host on your own servers, and in that JavaScript that you write, you can write to it. You can take advantage of the methods it exposes, and there's a way to, I can't remember exactly the technology that's being used, but it's basically like a post across, so that we can get past the cross-domain scripting security in a safe way. We've had our Salesforce product security team scrutinize the crap out of this, and they're very happy with the way it works, and Salesforce does this as well. But the JavaScript you write on your hosted page talks to the JavaScript and leverages the JavaScript we've made available to you, and you have full access to our DOM, our data object, our document object model, not the one on the page, but rather our data schema, rather, not the DOM. You have full access to it, and you have full access to our REST API. And as time goes on, we're going to be adding more and more capabilities and functionalities in Canvas, methods you can take advantage of. and we'll continue to document and release those. It does require you writing code on your end, or someone in your company writing code on your end, and leveraging it, but it's super powerful. And I don't, as far as the specific methods and everything, the biggest, most important method we have right now is a method, is an AJAX method that you leverage to utilize any of our REST API calls. Like literally, go look at the REST API documentation at dev.desk.com. Every single call in there can be leveraged via the Canvas interface.
Cool. And can we talk a little bit about like some of the major improvements of Jira from now to what it's going to be?
Yeah. So specifically, what we're aiming to do is bring much more information from Jira into Desk and display it in the console, and the other direction as well. Be able to send much more information from Desk back out to Jira, so that you can really, from Desk, you almost don't need to log into and see Jira in most cases. You'll be able to create new Jira issues. You'll be able to search for and find existing Jira issues. You'll be able to build relationships between Desk cases and existing Jira issues, and you'll be able to do all of that from the right column from the case properties.
Does that include notifications when a case has been closed or a bug has been fixed? Like so an agent can be notified when things are fixed or changed?
Well, I believe I need to talk to the PM about that. Notifications in general are something that we're addressing in Q2 and Q3 of this year, and that will be a super exciting webinar to have sometime this summer. Notifications as a general topic is an entirely other thing. As far as Jira is concerned, I'm not exactly sure what notifications will be sent other than the notifications automatically being sent by Jira itself.
Cool. Another really popular question that I'm seeing right now is hyperlinks. When are people going to be able to if ever, add hyperlinks to, let's say, words in a case? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the bigger category, which is rich text editing, which we're working on right now. And hopefully you'll be able to edit in rich text in the agent in the first quarter of this year. And that includes all the basics, bold, italic, underline, hyperlink, text size, possibly text color, et cetera. And so that's going to be coming quite soon. And so that does include hyperlinks.
Cool. Can you talk a few questions about chat, what's coming, what currently is available now in terms of like integration? So for example, integrating chat so the Desk can, create cases via chat.
Yeah, so there's two different topics on chat. So we're going to, a lot of you may know, we provide a native chat chat solution in Desk when you get it, and it's in the Classic Agent right now. Agents can speak with customers and vice versa via a widget you can put on any website. And we're going to support that as well in Next Gen Agent. That'll be coming in the next month or two. And it will work exactly the way it works in the Classic Agent. It'll tell you when the customer's typing. It'll tell the customer when the agent's typing, et cetera. But then there's also integrations with other chat providers like OLARC and some of the others. And so those integrations are being worked on as well. Part of that is related to Canvas. OpenCTI, the telephony solution, works very similarly to Canvas, where it gives third parties the ability to code into the agent interface and provide their telephony solution. We're doing the same thing with chat providers. So that's on the near horizon as well.
Awesome. So another group of questions that you guys have is surrounding the comparison and or differentiation between Classic and Next Gen Agent. Again, very transparent that we know there's not complete parity between the two. But people are asking, so some of the things that we know are great about Classic Agent, some of the customer history functionality that is not yet updated in Next Gen. So can you talk a little bit about maybe specifically your vision for getting Next Gen Agent on par with Classic, and for example, which features maybe aren't going to be planned for Next Gen Agent and why? And then also finally, is there going to be a period of time where people are going to be pushed onto one platform versus the other?
Got it. So I'm going to answer the second question first. So the second question is, we have absolutely no plans anywhere in the foreseeable future to deactivate the Classic Agent. There's just no scheduled timeline or need to do that. If anyone is using it and is happy with it and loving it, continue using it. That said, all new feature development is only being done on the next-gen agent. So the telephony solution is only available in the next-gen agent. The new and improved Jira integration will only be available there. We have some other stuff coming that we're not talking about quite yet that will all be done in the next-gen agent. So our desire is that everyone wants to move to the next-gen agent because they think it's better. They feel it's better. And until we've achieved that, the classic agent, and even beyond, the classic agent will still be there. Towards the kind of the vision has been to always make the important features of classic agent available in the next-gen agent, not necessarily exactly the way they were done in the classic agent. We're trying to improve in certain areas in a very intuitive, logical way so that what the use case you were trying to accomplish in classic can still be done in next-gen, but possibly better. There are a few, as we've already discussed, merging cases, et cetera, are coming. They're just not done yet. There's obviously a lot of work to get done with the next-gen agent, and they are coming. They're on the near horizon. There are a couple of things, like I know right off the top of my head, we allowed you to print case out of the old agent. We kind of just think it's enough to print from the browser in next-gen as opposed to having to have a dedicated, and if we're wrong about that, send us feedback at support@desk.com with next-gen feedback. But little things like that might disappear from the agent interface, but nothing significant. You'll be able to do all the things in next-gen and more that you were able to do in classic. That's the vision.
Cool. Maybe can you hop on back into the interface, Scott, and actually show folks, I think it'd be good to show folks, number one, how to sort those columns because it's not completely visible, as well as how to do bulk editing, specifically deleting multiple cases.
So bulk delete is still on the roadmap.
Okay.
Yeah.
When will that be? Do you have a broad idea of when that's going to be released?
Yeah, so it's part of that epic where I talked about where it's like the first 1 to 2 months of this year that we're doing a lot of little utility features that are kind of missing still. That's one of those little utility features.
And what about exporting case?
Exporting case is something that's being worked on by another team because that actually doesn't come through even though you trigger it through the agent, that's actually coming from another part of our system.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of questions also about Desk.Connect. Even though we did not really touch on that, it's a really great question, really high level, and if Scott wants to add any color, I can just tell you guys, so Desk.Connect, for those of you that don't know, is a full bidirectional sync of all Salesforce standard objects in layman's terms. If your company is a Salesforce customer as well as a Desk customer, all of your cases that populate in Desk automatically populate in Salesforce and vice versa. And the common denominator there is a Salesforce standard object, such as account. And what is coming to Desk.Connect, and again, based on your feedback, is the ability to choose what information is synced and what information is not. And we're calling that selective sync. It's the next major release on the roadmap. It's coming in the not too distant future, but there will be more information about that. But in terms of Desk.Connect, really, besides the amazing ability to really have all of your teams in your business view Desk cases should they want to, it's going to give you the ability to select which information is actually visible and which information is hidden. And I know that's been a question by a lot of you, and hopefully that will answer at least very high level, kind of some of the improvements that are coming to Desk.Connect. Let's see here. What else?
I just, while you were talking, did a little demo on sorting columns, so hopefully that takes care of or helps the folks who wanted to see that.
Yeah, so there's also some questions around the difference between Service Cloud and Desk. And this is a very, very complicated question, but very simply noted, again, for the purposes of this, and as some of you who have larger companies, have quite a few agents, like in short, Desk is an app, Service Cloud is a platform. And so what does that mean? An application is really created to maximize what it does very, very well so that when you use that app, your life is much easier. When you're using a platform is used to integrate with your current systems so that you can customize and spread it across your entire organization if you really need to. So for example, if you have an operations team that needs on a regular basis to connect with the service team, who needs to connect with a regular basis on the sales team. And all of these, it's not just sharing of information, but it's everybody's dependent on everybody else, and everybody needs access to the same information, but they have these legacy systems in place so that they can't replace the systems, but they need something to integrate it with. And again, at a very high level, that's what Service Cloud is. It's a much more sophisticated, it's a much more robust in terms of customization capability offering than Desk. Desk is really catered for people that want to amplify their support solution. And then again, with some of these integrations and forward looking technologies that we're talking about, those are also really allow you to grow more and more with Desk. I mean, that is the value of being with Salesforce, is that Desk to Service Cloud provides a very, very clear and seamless path to growth. But here at Desk, what we're trying to do is close that gap where you have to decide, is it time for me to, stick Desk out and go to Service Cloud, or is it time, for me to look for more customization? So between that, Desk is just trying to close that gap so that question or that time when you need to transfer becomes more and more obvious. But in short, that's the difference, and I hope that answers some of the questions that you guys have asked. Let's see.
And if I can just elaborate on that really fast, so Canvas will give you the ability to hook into existing systems at a primitive level, and it can be quite powerful. But there are limitations. It's like a micro platform. You can do a little bit of integrating, but like Elvis was saying, when you go with the Salesforce platform, really the sky's the limit. You can integrate with anything and everything, and there's an entire programming language. There's an entire ability to create all kinds of custom objects and integrate them with the default objects, et cetera. And if you're already using Salesforce in a sales solution, Service Cloud and Sales Cloud are very, very similar. The entire underlying platform is exactly the same. Service Cloud just adds some unique capabilities around service in particular. There's a console for agents to answer cases in a more default way, and then there's the service level agreement capabilities that come with Service Cloud. Otherwise, if you're using it for sales, you're kind of 99% of the way there already.
Cool, and again, I don't want to take anything for granted here, because I know some of you may be on Classic Agent and new to Desk or getting acquainted with Desk. So to that point, if you're in Classic Agent, in the upper left-hand corner of your inbox, there's a drop-down menu. Then basically you just click on the drop-down, and that's how you access Next Gen Agent. And I'll have Scott show that really quickly, because again, it's a really good question on how you switch back. And of course, those of you who are on Next Gen Agent hopefully know how to switch back to Classic, which is basically just clicking on the hamburger, get left nav appear, and then you'll select Next Gen. So
yeah. So really quick, I'm going to show two things. So the first is that if you're in Next Gen and you want to go back to Classic, you should see this Classic Agent link here, and it'll take you back to the Classic view. And then likewise, Next Gen Agent is a link in this menu. I call this the module menu. Now there is a small chance that some of you on the phone haven't seen those options, and the reason for that is you might have gotten involved with the beta early on, and the settings might have been set a certain way. If you go to the admin, the settings module over here, and of course not all of you on the phone are admins necessarily, so you may have to ask your admin to do this for you. But there's a setting in here which is Enable New Agent. In all new sites as of a few months ago, this is turned on by default. It's possible some of you are set in this none mode, in which case you won't see those menu items. So an administrator would need to go in and either turn it on for all users. They can choose a specific group of people who can use the new agent, or they can choose a specific user. Obviously, we prescribe all users, and that's the default setting. But if you're not seeing those menu items, this is how to turn it on right here.
And just another piece of information, obviously Next Gen is no additional cost. This is just one of the upgrades and one of the benefits of being with a cloud provider is constant upgrades. And so, as Scott mentioned, it's just a matter of going into the admin and making sure that that's enabled. And again, different companies have different reasons for maybe shutting that off. If they guys want you all working from the same workflow, if the way that they train you is standardized, it makes a lot of sense for everybody to be using the same agent. But again, hopefully today you guys can see a little bit more. Like, again, we know it's not perfect yet. It just came out recently, but we're constantly improving it. But we hope if you take nothing else away from this webinar, that you take away the fact that Next Gen Agent isn't just a UI with limited functionality right now compared to Classic Agent. It's literally a rebuilding of a foundation that's going to lead us to provide you with many, many more amazing features and integration capabilities than we ever could have under the classic agent architecture. So with that, we're almost out of time. There's so many questions. I think we've covered most of the major points, and I know a lot of you still have specific questions that weren't answered. And again, I'll promise you I will save these questions, and I will do my best to work with Scott to either address these on a blog post, and which we'll update with the webinar, and I'll provide a link. This webinar is being recorded, so we will post this after we go. But again, any questions that are unanswered, we have an entire team of people that are here to make sure that your desk experience is seamless and easy. So even the most basic questions like how do I turn on Next Gen Agent? How do I sort by columns again? I missed that. Can you tell me more about chat coming down the road? Just email us, support@desk.com, Next Gen Agent in the subject line, and we will answer all of your questions. So again, thank you all so much for spending your morning with us. We hope this was informational and very valuable to you. And with that, thank you so much, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, guys.